Okay, so forgive me, guys. The question I had up on Team 3 was actually the one for the higher level. If in future you see that a question I give you at the end, if it's from your book, if at the end of the year it says HL, that's for the higher level, and just let me know. I'll give you your ordinary level question. So for this one, look, I've set up my ellipse, and I've actually set up this top line here that's going out to the tail, purely for the fact of you should all be okay with the concentric circles method of setting up a circle. They told you 160 was the diameter of your major axis, and they told you the height here was 60 for your minor axis. If you are struggling with concentric circles, if you want a revision, I have videos under the BMC 2G label on the YouTube channel. It's for the stuff in the second years. I do go through how to draw with concentric circles. So if you want the revision on this method, you can go there. I'm also going to ask you lads to have a look at the fact that I haven't drawn the full 30-degree divisions because I don't want that kind of messiness in my drawing. I've just drawn the bits that cross over the lines in each section. It just makes it a little bit tidier. Right, ye all understand where your 30 degrees are coming from. So if you want to just start the line where you need it, that's absolutely acceptable, as long as the examiner can tell you divide it into your 12 sections. Right, moving on from there. This is the top of the helicopter. The radius for the windscreen is the distance from point D over here. So I'll just label B and D as well. There's a distance from D to C, that radius there, and that just swung down to the major axis. So that's the first line that we can do pretty much straight away, nice and tidily. We can get a pencil. Now we can draw that out, make that heavy. That's the first part of this question. Next thing that we need to look at would be bringing this point up to the center of the propeller on the back. And there's a very specific reason you have to do that. I'll show you now in a second. So bring that up as a construction line. Set your compass to a radius of 20 millimeters because that's the radius they gave you for the propeller at the back, and just draw that in as well. You'll need to know where these lines stop anyway. Okay. Right, so you have that much. What you need to pay attention to then, and this is why having your elliptical curve done right is very important. Where this line coming in hits the ellipse is where the ellipse actually stops and goes back at 60 degrees. So if I just set up my sliding set squares there, make sure the bottom one is flat. Just stuck to the table. Alright, set up my sliding set squares there. Turn it so as I can use my 60 degree and draw a line coming down from that point. Now, I haven't quite marked out where that's to end yet. I need to draw another line that's 25 millimeters down. If you look between where letter A and B are over here on your sheets, it says it's 25 mil down. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. Measure down 25 mil. Use your sliding set squares and cut your ellipse on that line. So here, cuts across, and that keeps going until it intersects with that 60 degree line. And I can put this line back in a little bit heavier then, just so I can make the distinction between the two. Right, next thing I can do is I can do the base there where the legs are. So that comes down another 20 millimeters. Measure down along the axis, because I know that's vertical. So measure down another 20 millimeters. Using your sliding set squares then. I'm going to use this one, it's just a bit shorter. You can bring, sorry no, oh yeah. You'll need to measure out 40 and 40 first, so that you know where the legs for the, where the legs for the helicopter come down at. So 80 and 0 there. So I can bring those down. Nice and light because they're constructions at the moment. A little bit more. Bring this one down. They go down as far as 20. Okay. Now I have this line, but I don't know where this line actually ends at the moment. If you look back at your drawing, that'll show you where this 60-degree line touches this axis here is where the line stops at one end. So I bring that down and just mark that off. Okay. And then the leg actually just goes out another 10 millimeters in front to give you the radius. So I can measure that radius on my compass. Now, to do this, go to the corner of at the end here, mark off your 10 millimeters. Which doesn't quite look like 10, does it? So we'll check. No, the compass moved on me. Right, mark off your 10 millimeters there, where that crosses over that line. You can move your needle to and come up. Okay. And I can fill this line into the appropriate weight. And if I have patience, I'd actually use my compass to darken that front of the leg as well, where it curves up. I also need to mark off where it ends. I've gotten that pretty bang on there. And I'm just going to very, very carefully darken that line. Alright, so I have the leg. I have point A here. That's important. I label that. The last bit that I'm looking for then is the top up here with the propeller. I've nearly everything else done. I can put in the right line here. Just put in the part that's actually staying heavy. And this line only comes in as far as the top of the cockpit. So put that in heavy as well. Okay, so this should be starting to look about right now. I'll also grab a spleen and just make that front that little bit darker too as well. The only thing, if you're using one of these tools, it's quite hard to get it to line up exactly where you had it last time. So you just have to take your time with it. Okay. So we have this much done. Now we just need to do the top over the cockpit. So I know I'll be able to bring a line straight up from this axis here. So that's where they've told me the front of the propeller motor starts, we'll call it. Now, this is where we need to look for some information. So they're saying that a line coming from a point down here in D, going up, is hitting the propeller up here somewhere. And that the thickness of the bar going up to the propeller is 10 millimeters. So look, what I'll do first is I'm just going to fill in, I haven't looked at this part, so I'm just going to fill in the information that we know. We know that it sits that many millimeters above, is where the top of the box is. So there's that line contains the box. Now, if you look at your drawing, you'll see that there's a line that goes from where the 60-degree touches here and goes up. The line that comes from D also goes through that point. So that's how we're going to find the information for the top of this. So where it goes from the 60, just bring that construction line up to where it hits the ellipse. This point then, we're going to draw a line from D through that point and up. Okay, so there's a construction line. That gives me the shape for the box here in the middle. Okay, and they've also told me out on the edge here that the overall height of this is 30 up above the helicopter. So this will go up another 10 millimeters as well. So I can mark that in. So I know this goes up another 10. Mark that off. And I know the corner of that hits this line as well. Make sure that's 10 millimeters there. A little bit longer. Okay, that's nearly all the information we need to finish this off. Just put in the correct heavy line. So this comes up to where the 20 millimeter height line was, where that intersects. We can draw a line straight across here with that heavy and make this heavy. And we know that If I bring the two edges of these down, the width of this is 10 millimeters. I know that because the drawing tells me. So I can bring that down. Now, and the very last thing you're going to do is you're going to go down to the either end of the lines that you already have. So bring up this line here because I just drawn it in the stairs because I saw the overall length of it earlier. Bring construction line up from the front and from the back. And then using your set squares, you can go parallel to the top of the tail. Bring that up, and where it goes through the top here, that's where the propeller is. And it goes down to this distance here. A tip for you when you're using your pencil, guys, along long lines of that, if you actually twist the pencil as you're going, you won't need to sharpen it as much. Now, I'm going to get rid of this one line here because that's not entirely correct and it's not going to help me with any marks. But outside of that, that will be that question done. A full marks on that. You need to leave all of your constructions in, so you'd need to be able to see that you use concentric circle methods. We'd need to see that you knew that this line here started at D, went up through this point here, and carried on out. Your examiners would actually be looking for that. Okay, hope that helps you. If you've any questions on it, give me a shout.